Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to give an overview of the Surfer SEO content editor. So this is your tutorial on how to use Surfer SEO for data-driven content optimization. This has been the secret tool behind some of my clients' biggest successes. You can see here, this was a software client, a very competitive space. You can see as soon as we started optimizing their pages and creating new content that was optimized with Surfer SEO, everything jumped up, and they actually had a 57% growth in traffic, organic traffic, over a 6-month period, which was more than double, what we usually promise. So very, very powerful. There's lots of other examples. If you want to see examples of successes, check out the link below. There's a link to a Skool group in the description. Check that out. There's lots more examples there where there's lots more client success stories, and Surfer SEO has been really the weapon, the secret weapon behind that. And the tool that I've used the most. So I practically live in this every day. I've trained my writing team and various people in the industry on how to use this. So this is a very powerful tool. And basically what it does is it scrapes the top 10 competitors on the first page of Google for any keyword that you're targeting, analyzes what they've done to rank on page one, and tries to reverse engineer that blueprint for ranking that Google is using, because they're obviously rewarding those top 10 sites that are ranking on page one for a reason. So this is essentially trying to reverse engineer that blueprint, give you the secrets, and as long as you're doing everything that you need to be doing, Google has no choice but to reward you because you're optimizing the content based off of what they're already looking for. Now, the score on the right-hand side, the overall, is what you're looking for. Usually I tell my writers to try and get this between 70 and 90. That's a well-optimized piece of content with enough natural human error that doesn't make your content unoptimized, but it's still natural, and it gives off that natural, what I call strategic imperfection, right? You don't want to have too many pages that are too well optimized because that looks unnatural. So you're going after your score 89. This reacts in real time. So if I just highlight all the content, take it out, you can see the score drop down to 0 because there's no content. If I put the sample content back in there, it'll jump back up to 89. So as you adjust the content, take out keywords, add them back in, this will react in real time. You want to make sure that your content is obviously well optimized. Like I said, between 80 and 89 is actually the sweet spot these days, given how competitive Google is. But I'm going to walk you through what I train my writers on, what to make sure to have in place, and what's important and what you don't have to worry about too much. So this will be the tutorial for the streamlined use of how to use Surfer SEO. So once you've got your content in there, you can see this is already well optimized. I have a whole process for that, which I teach in my Skool group. The link is in the description if you want to check that out. But basically, once I create the content with AI, this is already an 89 right off the bat, so super powerful. But if it wasn't, you'd adjust this content based off of the right-hand side here. And they've got guidelines here. You can see the content structure. There's 4 pieces here. Word count, you don't have to worry about too much as long as it's not way overboard. So if this was 10K over, that would be too much. A couple of thousand or a couple of hundred words over is not going to be, dramatically bad for you. It's okay. I wouldn't worry about this too much. Headings and paragraphs, you'd like to try and get those in the green. If they're not, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Images are actually quite important. And you can drop in a placeholder using this top dashboard here, which is like a Word doc. And what I'd recommend is to actually include your main keyword in the alt text. And you'll actually see in real time the score jump up. So now we're up to a 93 actually, which is fantastic for this content given the competition. You've also got other things here to work with. You can work with your headers. Obviously, you want to have your main keyword in the H1. You want to have all your H2s and everything else where they need to be. But on the right-hand side here, the most important thing is these terms, like what to include. Again, they don't have to be perfect, right? These numbers beside the words are basically your ranges. So they're saying you want to include Google Search Console between 3 and 8 times. I've got it in 4, so it's turned green. Good job, you're in optimal range. Some of these are a little bit over or under. I wouldn't worry about them too much, but the most important thing, I'd actually switch over to the NLP tab, and NLP stands for Natural Language Processing. So Surfer plugs into Google's own NLP system through an API, pulls in that information, runs all kinds of calculations, and gives you these terms that you want to make sure you have in your content, because that's what fleshes it out. Targeting your keyword is just one piece. That's the foundation. You also have to flesh all of that out with terms that Google would expect. And some of these you might not think of right off the bat, which is why Surfer is such a powerful tool. You might not think SEO friendly content is a term that you should include because it didn't show up in your keyword research. But with an NLP term through Google's API, Surfer's done the research, it's plugged into the system and shows, okay, for the site's ranking on page 1, you actually want to make sure that you include these. Now, my standard guideline for writers is to just make sure that you include the top third, not even all of this list. You're going to see a lot of this list here. Just include the top third of this NLP list and each keyword in the top third at least once. So you can have them more than once, but you want to make sure they're at least one time. And you can see most of these have been included at least one time. You have to scroll about halfway down, maybe before you get something that is a 0. Actually, most of these are included. Yeah, Ultimate Guide is 0, so that one wasn't included, but most of these have been included at least once. Some of them are in the optimal range, but remember, all of these factors are interacting with each other, right? So even if you have too much of one term, you might have another in an optimal range, and that all comes to this total score, which is the most important thing that you want to keep your eye on. That's the most important thing. But I'd start with the NLP tab and just make sure that you scroll down, take the top third of this and make sure it's included in your content. And in the content itself, you can see the keywords that are actually important are highlighted. You know, use them 1 to 3 times, which ones are in the optimal range. You can see all of that highlighted in your content, which is great. Your H2 headers. Surfer, I would actually say the headings is probably maybe one of the weakest parts of it. It's a good idea to include some of these if you can. And they're a good guide. I'm not sure I would say they're a great guide. So I wouldn't worry about including all of these as long as you have some of these in your H2s and H3s. That's most important. Remember, Google doesn't really count anything beyond an H4. Statistically speaking, in terms of rankings, H5 and beyond does not count for rankings. It does not matter. So you want to focus on your H1, H2s, H3s, and then H4s if you absolutely have to, but the value drops significantly with H4s, statistically speaking, based off of the research. Let's see, what else? Okay, so if I switch back to the NLP tab, we can kind of see what's included there. If I scroll back up, there's lots of other things that you can work with as well. But you want to make sure this score, this is your guide, is in that 70 to 90 range. If it's a little over, it's okay for some of your pages. Just want to make sure that not all of your pages are in like a 93 because that's kind of unnatural. So anywhere between 70 and 90 is perfectly fine for all of your pages. But you want to make sure every page on your website is optimized because that's Google's blueprint. That's what it's looking for. That's going to help your topical authority, which is the #1 ranking factor for Google according to the research. And this score has been validated by several studies. This is a powerful thing to have as your goal. If you switch over to facts, this is actually a new feature where if you include the facts, and you can see all of these are covered, but this is just an idea of what it looks like. These are facts that can boost your rankings in AI search engines like Google AI Overview or even ChatGPT and Perplexity. So you just click on this, give it some time to do the research, and you can just click boost coverage and it's going to automatically optimize your content, write it, rewrite it, add new sections to include these facts, which is super powerful. It can also help your score as well. Speaking of auto optimize, which is just under the total score, if you find your content like at a 70 or 60, or like I just don't know how to include these last few terms that I need, go ahead and hit auto optimize. It's going to bump the score up a few points, and just give it a chance to go through the content. It might take 5 minutes or even 10 minutes, but once it's done, it'll give you recommendations for what keywords to include where. It might even rewrite some of your content. You can just go through one by one and approve or deny that, or you can just say approve all, and you'll have your content automatically bumped up to a score that's higher, a few points higher. Oftentimes, this is enough just to get from a 70 to an 80, or a 60 to a 75, that sort of thing. So auto optimize is a powerful, relatively new feature. It wasn't there when I first started using it, which has really been just an amazing feature that can really streamline your workflow if you're stuck for any reason. You can insert internal links if you want to. I highly recommend it. You'd have to hook up your Google Search Console, but if not, just make sure there's some internal links to your other pages. Use the pillar and cluster method or the reverse silo method by Kyle Roof. Highly recommend that. That's also taught in my Skool group. Again, the link is in the description if you want to check that out. And then in terms of outline, you can insert an outline, you can generate one, you can use a template, you can do all kinds of things. You can check out competitors' outlines. Topics and questions, these can be helpful for your FAQs. So you can copy that and ask Surfer to generate some answers. You could actually use Surfy, which is they're like ChatGPT almost for the Surfer tool itself. So if you inserted these questions, you could highlight them and say, hey, Surfy, please answer these questions for me, and have an FAQ generated for you, which is super amazing. And you can do all kinds of things. You can rephrase a certain paragraph. You can expand on this. You can literally engage with their personal AI, which is super cool. So that's a basic overview of the tool. There's lots of other things you can do. You can leave comments for your writers. If you have a team that's working on it, you can mark this as done. You can show version history, so you can go back to previous versions if you want. You can customize this in terms of the competitors that it's using. So some of them they're not going to use, some of them they are going to include. You can kind of get an idea of what their content scored authority is. Topics and questions, terms, there's all kinds of things here that you can look at. Normally I leave this as is because Surfer does a good job, but you can adjust that if you want. And you can also run a plagiarism checker. You can download your guidelines as a TXT, HTML, or Markdown. You can use the Chrome extension, and you can even export to WordPress if you hook it up, which is really cool and optimized inside of WordPress. And you can generate a post for social media. One of the other powerful features is you can share this with a content team, and they don't have to have an account. You can share that with them, and they can access this editor, just this Surfer editor, through this link. And there's two links, one for actually editing and one for just viewing and commenting if you don't want them to change the content for whatever reason. So that's kind of an overview of what the content editor looks like and how to use Surfer SEO. Again, the most important thing is the score in the top right hand corner. Go to the NLP tab and take roughly the top third of these terms and make sure you include them in the content. That should get your content up to where it needs to be. And that's provided if you have your main keyword in the H1 and you've got some important keywords in the H2s and H3s, which is also going to help boost your score up to a pretty solid foundation. You also want to make sure you include lots of things like lists, short paragraphs. You can see 2 or 3 sentences, key summaries, takeaways, FAQs, that sort of thing, because the AIs like to crawl that. It's a structural cue for the AIs. And I've ranked lots of pieces of content in both the AI overviews and even ChatGPT and Perplexity, just using those structural cues for the AI. Again, I teach all that in my Skool group, so go ahead and jump on in. Lots more there in terms of AI powered SEO. But this is definitely one of the foundational tools for both, SEO in both Google and the AIs as well. This will generate you an optimized piece of content with data-driven suggestions and not just guessing or random keyword research or digging through Google Analytics. I promise you the blueprint is not there. The blueprint is on page 1 of any keyword that you search, and that's the secret. That's the secret that Google doesn't share openly. And a tool like this can help reverse engineer that blueprint. So it pays itself back in spades. Like it's an amazing tool, and getting results like this is literally a lever that you can pull. It's literally a button that you can push. And it starts with the content editor, which is the most powerful feature of how to use Surfer SEO for your data-driven content optimization. So hopefully this has been helpful. Leave a comment in the just below if you have any questions, or if there's anything that I said that wasn't clear. Happy to help. Like I said, I live in Surfer SEO every day. I'm always in this, optimizing content for clients and my own projects as well. So happy to answer any questions. And if you want to know more about how to use AI to supercharge not only your SEO for your website, but your YouTube SEO as well, and connect the two, check out the link below in the description to the Skool group. There's lots of custom tools and templates, checklists, guides, resources, demo videos, how I optimize pieces of content, how I upload videos to YouTube to rank in all top 10 spots on page 1 of YouTube, all sorts of just really custom, powerful SEO methods and strategies available in there, all at one low monthly price, far lower than you're going to pay any SEO. So go ahead and check that link out in the description. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you don't have Surfer, there'll also be a link in the description to grab it. And hopefully this has been helpful on how to use Surfer SEO